some more thoughts on my journey through Soviet Russia and the great minds that I met. One of my acquaintances at Oxford was the family of Boris Pasternak, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1959. This prize, you lovers of poetry may know, was awarded to this great Russian poet, and he was threatened to be expelled by the Khrushchev regime because as usual, as we all know even today, the communists, the extremists, the fascists can't tolerate freedom and freedom of expression. So Boris Pasternak begged Khrushchev not to expel him so that he can live in his own beloved country. What drew me to Boris Pasternak was of course his poetry, but besides that there is a personal anecdote that there is a Russian family, and I was told, and when I went to see the family, it was led by Lydia Pasternak, the sister of Boris Pasternak, and she had a Tamil Nadu Dravidian connection. Her father-in-law was a professor at Madras University, one Mr. Slater, whose one book, The Dravidian Elements in Indian Culture, she presented to me knowing that I am from Madras. That started the family friendship for me, and when I told her at the end of my Oxford term that I want to travel through Russia, she was delighted and she helped me to acquaint me with her country, and she said she would give some warm clothes for her brother and I may kindly take it and hand it over to you. I gladly agreed to that. Then my journey to Soviet Russia took place in a very circuitous manner. I don't want to dwell on too many things. Those days you cannot travel alone as a tourist, but in my case I was lucky to have permission from the Russian tourist office. In Moscow, Boris Pasternak's brother Alexander Pasternak came to see me in my hotel room, and when he found that I was very much interested in Leo Tolstoy, he said he will give all the money for me to travel by taxi to Yasnaya Polyana, some miles away from Moscow, and he said he will give the money, and instead I can hand over all the English books I had, because in those days those books were not available in Russia. So by the time I went to Russia, Pasternak passed away, so I couldn't see him, but I saw the family. He invited me to his home in Moscow and entertained me for dinner, and with such memories I came back to India via Tashkent. So I became interested in poetry in those days, and many of the Russian poets, one lady poet, I don't remember the name now, is also famous. So I met some of these youngsters who were interested in Russian literature, and if you all know, unless we know Russian literature, prose and poems, we can't claim that we know world literature. I can go on mentioning so many names, but here I give it up. In Petersburg, Leningrad, I traveled with a Russian tourist party, and a young lady who came with me showed all the places where Vladimir Lenin was hiding when he led the 1917 revolution. So these were all some of the developments. Even in my time, in the early 60s, I saw huge developments in Russia. But when I compare with what is going on in China today, it's all nothing. In India has to wait for maybe another 10 or 15 days before we reach the level of China. How many can say they can travel by bullet train from airport to the central city? So, but China has done it. China's airports are huge. Maybe for the next 100 years there is no need to expand it. Such huge airports, infrastructure, air travel have all made China a great power, economic power, and also a great threat to India's ambitions to compete in the international arena. So these are all some of my memories of the great powers, and I hope that Indians will learn to rise up to these challenges that are ahead of us. Thank you.